welcome to the Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce City Council debates. My name is Steve Messinio, and I'm the President and CEO of the Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're pleased to bring you this year's debate series. Our chamber is proud supporter of both the businesses and residents of Marlborough, and we appreciate the opportunity to host this debate. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the City of Marlborough, District Education Center, WMCT-TV, our moderator, timekeeper, and panelists for their efforts in bringing together tonight's debate. Also, thank you to the candidates who've put in the efforts running for a chance to serve as your city councilors for the City of Marlborough. I'd also like to take a moment to share with you a few upcoming events the Chamber of Commerce is running to support businesses and residents in our community. One of them is our Most Righteous Chamber Chowdown. It is a sweepstakes, an opportunity for people to win gift cards to our area restaurants, a significant number of gift cards, and the proceeds support our area high school students in terms of scholarships at the end of the year. I'd also like to remind everybody to visit our website and check out our events calendar, especially for our upcoming Veterans event on November 9th at the American Heritage Museum in Hudson. It is a fabulous event, and it's a great way for us to honor our veterans and the time they've served our country. So please join us and register for that event on our website. So that is all I got to offer there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our timekeeper and Government Affairs Chair, Emily Greenwood, President of EKG Networking. Emily.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Thank you to WMCT-TV for broadcasting this event, the City of Marlborough, as he said, District Education Center for hosting our debates here this evening, and thank you to the candidates and panelists for coming out. The Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Government Affairs host these debates to help the residents make an informed choice. The Marlborough biennial municipal election will be November 1st. Also, to give you some idea on early voting hours, early voting will be open Saturday, October 28th from 9 to 3, Monday, October 30th from 9 to 6, Tuesday, October 31st from 9 to 4, Wednesday, November 1st from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., Thursday, November 2nd from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Friday, November 3rd for 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. All early voting will be at City Hall, 140 Main Street during these times. Please check the website if you have any questions on that, because I spoke way too fast. Tonight's forum is being streamed and recorded live via WMCT-TV and will be available on demand. Our moderator for this evening, again, is Darlene Welch of Minuteman Press. Darlene has been a business owner in Marlborough of Minuteman Press since 2011. She's a member of the Board of Directors of the Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce and with the Massachusetts 4-H as the horse communication coach for 15 years, helping students become national champions 2012, 2019, and 2022. So she has the communications down, which we appreciate. Please welcome our moderator to introduce our candidates and panelists and explain the rules, Darlene Welch. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to start by introducing our candidates and panelists for this evening's event. First, the panelists. We have Robert Gustafson from Triton Financial, Julie Brown-Dahlbeck from Marlborough Wellness Center. Both of these are business owners in the City of Marlborough and members of the Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce. Next, our candidates participating in the debate. Please note, political affiliations do not matter in the municipal election. Because the question has been asked when the chamber reached out for questions, we are introducing the candidates with their political affiliations. We have David Doucette, Ward 2 Councilor, Democrat. We have James M. Jumonville, he's an independent. Thomas Edward Dalton is a Democrat. Tiona C. Brown, Ward 4 Councilor, is an independent. Maureen A. Brennan is a Democrat. Albert Trey Fuccello is a Democrat. Donald R. Landers Sr. is a Ward 7 Councilor, a Democrat. Harmony Larson is an independent. Michael Henry Ossing is President-at-Large Councilor, is a Democrat. Sean A. Navin is a Ward 6 Councilor, a Democrat. Kathleen Diane Roby is Vice President-at-Large Councilor, is an independent. Mark A. Oram, at-large councilor and an independent, and Scott M. King, an independent. And I apologize if I messed up everyone's name. For the purpose of this debate, I'm going to address all of you by your first name, and I hope you don't mind. Before we begin, I'd like to go over the format for this debate. First, members of the audience. You are only allowed to clap when a candidate has finished their introduction and at the end when they have completed their closing statements. All other times, I ask you to be courteous and remain silent. And can we also please make sure cell phones are on silent? Candidates, you will each have 2 minutes to introduce yourself. The first round, you each will be asked questions by the panelist. You will have 1 minute for your response, 30 seconds for a rebuttal. On the second round, each candidate will choose another candidate to ask a respectful question. Again, 1 minute for response and 30 seconds for rebuttal. If there is time after this segment, we will go back to the panel for additional questions. At the conclusion of the debate, all candidates will have 2 minutes for their closing statements, which will be in reverse alphabetical order, but there's only the two of you, so just go back and forth here.
That's fine.
I will ask each of you to be concise with your answers and respectful of your time and of each other. Okay, so we are going to begin with our Ward 2 counselors. So we'll start with,
Introductions first?
Yeah, you're going to start with David.
Okay.
I already did
David,
that.
first question to you.
Do we do the introduction first?
I'm sorry.
That's what I was asking.
That's what I asked.
Long day, long day.
It's
We're
already
going to
late.
begin with, okay, we have David Doucette, our Ward 2 counselor, and James M.
Jumonville.
Jumaville. Okay, we'll start with
Opening,
Bob.
Opening statement.
Statements. I am so sorry.
Come on, Darlene, you're killing us.
You got this, girl. You got
I
this.
know, this is not, it's been a long day, it's
Love
been
you
a real
anyway.
big day.
We got
Okay,
this.
let's start with David, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having the opportunity to be here. I thank the Chamber for putting this on. This is no small feat, and appreciate the work you guys have done to it. I also like to thank WMCT-TV. They've done an excellent job covering the campaign time this season, so good job, guys. And thank you to the counselors, the citizens of Ward 2 who have elected me in the last 4 elections. My name's Dave Doucette. I'm the Ward 2 City Council running for my 5th term representing Ward 2. And truly, it's been an honor and privilege to represent you folks in the City Council. I started working in Marlborough in '87 and at Digital Equipment Corporation at 200 Forest Street, which is now a bunch of other businesses. We moved into town in 1992. My wife and I have been married for 34 years. I have a daughter and a stepdaughter. Our daughter also lives in Ward 2 with a grandson and just got a second grandson a couple weeks ago. So my oldest grandson is actually starting first grade in Kane School. And the other grandson will probably be attending Kane School as well. I have an electrical and computer engineering degree from Northeastern University, a bachelor's, and an MBA with high honors from Clark University. I've been involved in leadership roles in divisions of companies worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and now I just work at the Home Depot in my ward, so I live close enough that I actually go home for lunch. If I'm lucky, I have lunch with my wife. If I'm very lucky, my grandson's there too. And I enjoy working with the council and the mayor, just making sure that the budget is straight and the tax rate remains low. So thank you very much. I'm done.
Thank you. James?
I'm James Jumonville, and I live at 232 Phelps Street here in Marlborough. I've been in the city for 15 years with my wife, Doswita, and my grandson, Lucas, and her husband and wife, Anna Julia Narilson. We all live there. I'm running for my grandson's sake because the national debt is on their shoulders. All our children is growing from 250,000 and growing each day. I'm concerned about that, and I'm concerned about the seniors that I see out and about having to get a second job to try to make ends meet. Those are my biggest concerns going forward running. I've reached out to some of the businesses in the ward, and I've reached out going to the neighborhoods, knocking on doors, And what I learned is, well, I don't really know you, Jim, but then when I told them the term old school, they opened up. I was raised old school, I was educated old school, and that's what I am, is old school. And I believe with my PhD in finance I got from my parents. They were teenagers during the 30s, during the Depression, and they were young adults in the 40s when there was rationing. And I was educated that you paid for what you got, and if you couldn't, if you took a loan out, you look for the best deal you could get, and you honor those commitments when you sign to take out a loan. The other things I'm running for is 100% constituent service, help and care for our seniors, the wealth and the maintaining of our schools, our children and our teachers, get the West Side Fire Station completed, prioritizing the tax expenditures, because we're going to have a really rough time going forward from what I see with the city budget and what's all that's going on. And I want to maintain and fix our failing roads, because to me it's like driving around Baja California in the town. So I think in the city, we got to really address that. So that's what I think I can bring to the table, is my lifelong experiences. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I think I got it straight now. So now we're going to start with the questions, and we're going to start with
All
Bob.
right. David, as the sitting councilor, what do you feel is the most important issue in Ward 2, and how would you address it?
So, specifically for Ward 2, I would say that the pressing issue is how to address climate change. If in the last couple of months, there's actually been tremendous damage, not only on Farm Road, but Phelps Street. And a lot of it was caught the city off guard. It was a massive amount of rain in a very short amount of time. You know, the unprecedented 100-year flood that happens every 10 years now, type of thing. And I think that it's important that we address those issues. I'm actually chair of the Climate and Resiliency Committee, and I'm planning to set up a meeting of the Climate Resiliency Committee after the election to identify basically where are the weak places that need to be, vulnerable places need to be addressed within the city. And at least at this point, identify them and figure out what the plan of attack is to address them and make it better.
Okay. Thank you. Julie?
James, what do you feel is the most important issue in Ward 2, and how would you address it?
Well, I think the biggest issue in Ward 2, from what I'm hearing from people, is the kitchen table issues on how they're surviving, what they got to pay for gas, rent, utility bills, and everything like that. So moving forward, to be how to incorporate their feelings and what they feel should be done while addressing the needs of the budget for Ward 2 and for the city directly as a whole. We are going to go into tough financial times. Next year, there are going to be 3 unions that what they're going to have to deal with, contract issues, and there's only so much money that can go around, the tax dollar. It's divided between schools, police, fire, DPW, and then the general government, which is like your library, your senior center, and all your people that work at City Hall and places like that. So that's what I want to bring forward. If I'm going to pay for one thing, it's going to have to come from somebody else, and I want to make sure that we make the best decision for Ward 2 and the city as a whole.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Now we're going to do general questions. Bob, you can ask the question.
Sure. What are your thoughts and plans for zoning in the city?
I'm going to start with you, David.
Okay. So I think that the way that the city is handling zoning has been effective in some cases, but not as effective in others. I think that there was a lot of work that had to be that needs to be addressed in clarifying the city overlay district downtown and making sure that is straightened out. The Wayside zoning district is it's my neck of the woods, that part of Route 20. And, the thing about zoning is it's more of a long-term play. Like, you don't change a zoning and then all of a sudden people start knocking on your door tomorrow to actually build things, You set up the zoning, you really don't see what comes out of it for 5 or 10 years, because people have to react and respond, developers, to say, oh, we can do this now, and then they've got to start doing planning. By the time it gets to us, it's years down the road. So as we are right now, I think that we handle the situation well. The Red Rock zoning overlay, I think, is a brilliant example. Sorry.
Thank you. Jim, same question.
I think the issue should be more as what we can do for commercial than residential, meaning that in residential, if you've got a neighborhood, you're not going to, someone applies for a dog kennel, you're not going to put that there. But in commercial, you want to try to get the biggest bang for the buck to keep the tax rate growing for the city, yet not an influx of children and other services where we have to build another school or things like that. Most things would have to be done on a case-by-case basis, but I think the best thing to do would be to expand the commercial tax rate within reason, whatever area it's in, and cut back on the residential, i.e. because they demand more services than the commercial would.
Thank you. All right, Julie, your question?
The state is mandating each MBTA community, of which Marlborough is designated as one, to produce additional housing. Residents are uncomfortable with the level of development in their backyard. How do you balance those two challenges?
And Jim, you're going to start this question.
Well, on that issue, that is being a compelling issue, but like what they have just decided, a lot of people have been talking about open space, yet the McGee Farm, they let go, that should have been used for open space. The city should have taken that. We should keep all the open space we possibly can. And as far as building more commercial things for the state, I'd like to know where they're going to go. We are flooded with condo places and apartment buildings now. There's more going up. I mean, I can't believe that we haven't done enough to satisfy the state. I'm not really up on the issue, but with all the buildings going up around the city, I think we're pretty much there. If not, we could probably, look to be relieved from that issue.
Okay, thank you. And David?
Thank you. Were you specifically asking about the affordable housing or just housing in general? Because I thought that
Can
the
you
state
repeat the
put
question?
And it just says additional housing.
Okay.
It didn't,
Okay.
there's no specific affordable versus not.
Okay. I just wanted that.
No, thank you for asking, because
Yeah,
I realized
yeah.
that, yep.
Yeah. So, Marlborough is a great place to live, and a lot of people want to move here. When my wife and I decided to move into Marlborough in '92, one of the reasons is because it was so easy to get to everywhere, and that works both ways. If you live here, I've commuted to Cambridge, Boston, and all that stuff. And I think that attracts a lot of housing into into the area. The city has to continue to grow so that basically we can pay for the infrastructure that needs to be built. And it is a treadmill to some extent, trying to get something like that done. The type of housing that we're getting attracted in is actually pretty high end. The Green District and the boroughs, if anyone took a look at that place, it's gorgeous. And there's a bunch of other ones as well. So I think that the balances has to be done, and it's tough to do, but that's something that we all work at. And at the very end, sometimes we agree to disagree on some of this stuff. That's what council's about.
Thank you. Okay, Bob, your next question?
What are your thoughts on the tax rate for residents and businesses?
David?
Sure. I think the staggered tax rate, having the residential tax rate lower than the business tax rate, is a great advantage to the city. I would hope that more people who live in the city, who work in the city, could live in the city, because there is still a lot of people that work here, even for the city, that have moved outside the city because they can't afford to live here. So, I think that the business rate is something that we still attract the best and brightest businesses coming in here. We just got the biotech company of Moderna to come in to do manufacturing. So we're doing something right. And I think that the long-term payoff, because we can put TIFs in place when businesses move in so that we can help them on the initial phase, and then they end up paying us in the long run, because once you set it up, you're not going to move. So.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have the
Jim?
question again? I want to see what.
What are your thoughts on the tax rate for residents and businesses?
I think the tax rate is good the way it is. Businesses, I believe, if you look at it, would be better suited for Marlborough, because we're really maxed out residentially, because businesses, they pay for what they use, and then they spend their money here. Restaurants and in the stores and stuff like that, where residential, you're talking about children and more to the schools and overburden there, which we're already maxed out. So keeping the tax rate low for residential is extremely good, but I'd rather increase the commercial rate.
Okay, thank you. And Julie, next question.
Being a daughter of a veteran and a daughter-in-law of a veteran, what would be your plan to help veteran-owned businesses start and grow in Marlborough?
Jim?
Well, I think we could give some sort of tax incentive to have them with a business here in Marlborough. I mean, you see on the TV that they have those ads where they can get home loans at a reasonable rate. I think we could do the same thing here, as long as it's sustainable and the bank agrees. I mean, it'll be a win-win for everybody. So I don't see what the difficulty would that be, having veterans have businesses here in the city. I mean, they sell themselves, so in that they are servicing everybody, what's going on in the world. Everybody supports our veterans, so I think it'd be a worthwhile idea for Marlborough to expand that.
Okay. David?
Sure. So it depends upon the type of business that the person's doing. If it's a small business, and I think that there's opportunities with the Chamber, with MEDC, and actually with Veterans Affairs, trying to figure out what sort of options are available, what's available now to help it. If it's a bigger business that they're trying to do, that it's working towards a bigger footprint economic, then, back to MEDC and some of the other businesses, trying to align the funding. There's lots of options out there. It's more of an issue of navigation to find what's there, what's available for them, as far as resources and opportunities that they can take and acquire and use that to help build their business.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to the segment where you both get to ask each other questions. So, David, would you like to go first?
Sure. Jim, I really just have one big question. In the speech that you did for Marlborough Cable, you referred to GoFundMe as ways of doing funding across the city. So have you done a GoFundMe, and if so, how effective was it?
No, I haven't done a GoFundMe, but the GoFundMe is about the issue and what people are willing to pay for. I just said that I believed that doing the skate park at $250,000, I believe, would be best done by a GoFundMe page. Everybody loves sports in this city. I mean, the Shamrocks are known worldwide. I think that would have been better done that way than to take the money from the grant that should have been used on water infrastructure or roads or something like that, than toward that. And the same with the dog park. I mean, everybody loves dogs in this community. I had one, we're going to get another one. Fluffy passed away, but that was 150 G's. That could have been done with a GoFundMe page. People always in this city donate, businesses and people, towards things they want. I think those two things could have been bestly served by raising money there. Where that money came from a grant, it should have been used for water infrastructure or the roads or something of that nature.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Do I get a rebuttal?
Yes, you do. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
30 seconds.
Okay, so the catch is GoFundMes typically don't work. 2016, the GoFundMe success rate was 16.8%. It went down to 7.8% in 2020. So it's not a solid source of income for any of the type of projects typically used for medical or personal issues, not government. The grants, if you have grants, those grants have to be spent a particular way. There are hooks on it. You can't take money from a grant and spend it on something else. So there's a whole process to make sure that a money from a grant is used for a particular project. So that's why that money from grants can't be used from other places.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I speak to just that?
You want a rebuttal? Go ahead.
No, well, it's not a rebuttal. It's the issue, what it came up with was out of that grant money. And they used $2 million of that for the Lake Williams walk trail around that. Me personally, I would have fought that tooth and nail, because the grant money was for infrastructure, for the water and sewer, and they used the $2 million for that. And I would have fought that, where David said, why are we dealing this, as I quoted him in the paper saying, why are we going over this with a fine-tooth comb? When you're talking millions of dollars, you use a fine-tooth comb and something else. I mean, that money's not always going to be there, and the biggest bang for the buck should be done for the taxpayers and the residents of the city. And me
Thank you.
personally, I just didn't
Thank you.
agree with that.
Okay, Jim, it's your turn to ask David a question.
Yeah, I got a question. We had just had a major project done on Farm Road, and David had mentioned about climate change and everything, and was affecting on Farm Road. But when they redid the road, and David had said in the paper that he was going to work with the DPW engineers and the city engineer, my question is, when they redid the road and they put the drainage line in there, why did they put a drainage line in that was too small to where it rains, it overflows, and people get flooded out on the bottom of Farm Road?
Okay, can I ask just a question? Are you talking about the original one or the one that just put in?
The one they just put in.
Okay, so the one they just put in is something that's temporary. And the reason why it was temporary, because basically, it's a work in progress. This was an old galvanized, culvert that collapsed, and when it collapsed, all the water basically...
Not the one near Kane School, the one down the other end of Farm Road.
This
They
is the
let
one.
them come-
This is the one with the steel plates on it right now. Okay, so the culvert collapsed. They had to pull that out. It took a week for them to work on it. I was there every day looking through the inspection of how the progress is being done and stuff like that. I have photos to show that. But the catch is that they needed to do a short-term fix now so that they have the time to actually look at how to fix it long-term, which is still going to take a year or two, because there has to be a whole new design to be done. And when the design is done, it's going to have to take into account additional water flow and all that stuff. But you can't design that stuff overnight. That's a longer-term design
Okay,
fix.
thank you.
I was discussing it down further at the end of the road near Broad Meadow, because when I went to those, knocked on doors and
Country
talked...
Lane?
When I talked to those people, they said the town engineer came to them and said the reason they're being flooded out is because the line that was put in was too small for drainage. So that's why I'm wondering why that wasn't addressed then, when he said the same thing to us when we were looking at the culvert, me and another
So-
resident, so...
Can I respond to that? Just as a quick, so in the case of Country Lane, first is, I've been working, that was in place before my watch. I have been working with DPW and with the people on that community, trying to get that fixed. And I've had numerous conversations with Tom DePercio to figure out how to fix it in a cost-effective way. And they tried one attempt. It wasn't as successful a work as they did. Hopefully, it can get fixed as part of a broader effort. But this drainage was put in long before my time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go back and we'll have you ask one more question. Bob?
All right. This actually came up during the mayoral debate. A couple of Marlborough hotels are offering shelter to a large influx of immigrant families from countries in turmoil. How would you address that situation?
David?
I'm not sure how much the city council has power to actually influence that situation, to be honest. We've had discussions as part of providing some degree of social support for the immigrants. I think that we still need to provide education, et cetera, for them, and a lot of them are going to the Kane School. So I think the influx of refugees from other countries into Marlborough is new, and it is really becoming socially disruptive, but I don't think that's necessarily always a negative thing. I think there's a lot of local businesses that could hire some of these immigrants at a reasonable rate, and because there's job crisis as well within the area.
All right.
Oh, my turn.
Jim?
The issue is ongoing, and I think it's going to become a problem because Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul in New York, Mayor Adams is hemorrhaging $12 million a day with immigrants. They're going to be bussed here. And make no mistake about it. We have the right to shelter law here, and we have ID cards, we have the driver's license, so they're going to end up here. They're going to dump pressure, and some of them are going to end up here. Now, the issue is, what you do is you call in your state senator and your two state reps, and you have them deal with Boston for you with that. That's how it gets done, because it's not going to happen at the Cape, because they're already off the Vineyard, and they're not going to get over the bridge, because those people down there are organized, and they're at the Bowen Rotary every weekend. So it's whoever makes the most noise, and that's how you address this issue, is to do it that way, because the governor already said by November 1st, all the places are going to be all maxed out, and that's a week from today.
Okay.
So we're going to have to deal with it, and that's the way I
Thank you.
approach it.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and then we'll go into closing remarks. Julie?
What committees do you feel you can make the strongest contribution to in the city, and why?
Jim?
Well, I think the best one for me would be urban affairs, on how to deal with permitting and whether people get the use of their property, business or residential that way. I like urban affairs. The other one would be veteran affairs. I mean, I'm keen in for that, onto that. As far as anything else, I don't know about how many committees we got, but those are about the two best that I think I'd like to address.
Thank you. And David?
Thank you. So the first committee I was involved with that was there's urban affairs and finance. Every freshman counselor goes to finance and for a couple of years and spends their time there learning their chops. And I was attending urban affairs, and I really got attracted to urban affairs, which I'm co-chair of now. It's looking at the long arc of development within the city, how things go. So, and I think I have some influence in that as far as just asking the right questions, making sure that some things get done. I'm also chair of climate resiliency. I think that that's important, but I think urban affairs is obviously a lot more important than that. So, but those are just the primary ones at this point.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's start with your closing remarks. You both have 2 minutes for your closing remarks, and we'll start with Jim.
Thank you for the Chamber for having us, and the TV station here in Marlborough for having us. I think there's a distinct contrast between me and Dave. I'm old school, and I believe I'm running on the kitchen table issues for the voters and the taxpayers. I think they're more concerned with paying their bills and their credit card bills going up and going into debt and wanting the biggest bang for their buck as far as dealing with issues with finance for the city and this and that. So I think I'd be the better suit for that. I mean, we have gone along, I've talked to people and this and that, and I just believe that there's a time for change, and the time is now, and nothing personal, but I just think I can bring a better conservative voice as far as finances to the board and what the people are going through now, because I'm sitting right there and going through it with them. I mean, I got 401ks and retirement and equity in the home as everybody else, but I'm living week to week too. And I think that's what everybody else is doing. And they just seem frustrated that the city is not working for them. Because like on the mayor debate, I thought the best line from what I'm hearing, everybody, was the very first line of the night, when I think it was Mr. Baker said, "I'm running because a lot of the people in the city feel forgotten." And that's kind of true. And it's about expenditures, about what we're wasting our time on, what we should be doing with our taxpayer money, getting the biggest bang for the buck. If I'm going to spend $100 of your money, I'm going to try to get you $200 worth. And if we're going to take any loan out, I'm going to make sure it gets paid off right away, and it's worth getting on the best percentage rate for doing that. But I think there should be a total overhaul of the budget, line by line, what we can do. If we're going to pay something, it's going to have to come from somebody else. Because like we talked about the migration problem, I think that's going to be a big issue for the city coming forward, which is basically out of our control.
Thank you. And David?
Thank you very much, and thank you for watching this debate. I hope that this debate helped the voters of Ward 2 decide who is the person that they want to vote for. I think that the experience that I bring to the table is very practical, very pragmatic. I have 30 years of high-tech experience with both business technology and business and accounting, financing. And I think that that's important experience to bring to the council. There are tough trade-offs to make on the budget, and that happens every year. But, the other part of it is that how much do you want to second-guess the management team of the city as far as going down and line item vetoing a little thing that you may or may not understand the full scope of. So I think it's important that we understand how the budget works within the city, and we live within that budget. I think the city actually does a very good job maintaining that. And I think that, being on the council, bring the perspective I do, just provides a balance to what's out there. I think that, democracy is really not a spectator sport. Everyone that is watching this needs to get out to vote, but also make sure that their friends in the city get out to vote as well. It's important that the people are engaged in the local community. There's a lot of people that don't think that they don't know how to ask for help, and I think if that's the case, they need to walk into the city and start seeing what sort of opportunities and options there are. There is Veterans Affairs representative for people who have veterans issue. I just called someone on that. But there's Disabilities Commission as well. So if you are having issues, then there is something there that's available from the city. You just need to go ask. I think that's important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both candidates. And we will take our short break before we continue with Ward 4. Thank you.
Nicely done.